Okay. Welcome. Episode number 9. Am I still a Christian? Excited. Hopefully, we'll get some folks jumping on shortly. Even if you don't happen to join us live, I do these broadcasts bi-weekly to make sure that I'm putting the content out there, to make sure that I'm helping to continue this love revolution that we're building together. So whether you get an opportunity to jump on live or you view the broadcast later on, the most important thing to me is that we're getting the word out. We're continuing to keep the message going forward. And most importantly, you're helping me to share the joy by spreading the love. I am excited about tonight's broadcast, tonight's feed, because we are going to be talking about a topic that's starting to get some traction. It's starting to get some notoriety. It's existed for a long time, but I think it's starting to come back. It's starting to be in vogue once again. And not that I'm necessarily looking to be opportunistic, but for me, it's important that these broadcasts are timely, that the message is timely. And quite frankly, you really can't talk about love and loving others and not talk about self-love. And so tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. I want to share with you, I want to express with you some sentiments that are incredibly important to me, that are incredibly valuable, that I think gets lost, gets missed. My man Jiggy O has just jumped on to the broadcast. Mr. Fortune, bless you, man. Good to see you, sir. It's been a long time. Glad to see that you're peeking in and checking us out. So really the message, the idea tonight's broadcast is self-love. And as a Christian, as someone that is espousing, someone that's following, someone that is trying to emulate the life and the teachings of Christ, can I place importance? Can I place a value? Can I place a premium on something like self-love, right? I mean, the Bible is clear. We're supposed to esteem others higher than ourselves. We're supposed to put others first. As parents, we do that all day long. We're going to make sure that the kids' bellies are full. We're going to make sure that the kids' clothes are clean. We're going to make sure that they have access to quality education and try to do all the things for them that are important to us, whether we had access to them as children ourselves or not. That's often not the case. That's often not the issue. What's most important is that we're taking care of our children. And so we will do that often at the expense of even taking care of ourselves. And I think that some of us have been in lopsided relationships where the focus was entirely or predominantly, mostly on the other individual. And we received very little attention, very little compassion, very little affection from that relationship. It was a lopsided relationship because we were focused on pushing the love out and spent very little time, effort, and energy making sure that there was love coming inward. And here's what's the most important aspect to this, folks, is that you can only control what you can control, right? You can't control other people. I love my wife. I love my wife dearly. God bless Rachel Botts. Please keep her in your prayers. She's not feeling so well today. So please make sure that you call out Rachel in your prayers. Love Rachel dearly. I cannot control the amount of affection, the amount of how she expresses. We can certainly talk about it. We can use the Chapman love language assessment, and I can tell her how I receive love, and I can tell her what I value and what's important to me and what's meaningful to me. But ultimately, I can't control what she does with that information. I can't control the decisions that she makes. I can only control me. And so what's incredibly important, folks, is that you make sure as you're sending love out, as the love in you is going out, I need to impress upon you how important it is that you are reserving, that you are saving, that you are directing some of that love back in. Love yourself. You gotta love yourself. You have to direct love and energy and attention toward yourself. You have to do it. It's a must. It's a non-option. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. This is not a message. It's not an invitation for you to be selfish. So this is not, I don't want all the married couples talking about, competing time. I need time for self-love. I need to go on vacation. Just me and my friends, me, myself, and I, we going on vacation so I can practice some self-love. That's not, come on now. That's not what I'm talking about. Hear what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you are going to adequately, if you're going to be able to continue to pour out and flow out and direct love outwards, there has to be love coming back in. The scripture talks about it this way. Many of us may be very familiar. If you know the Bible, if you read the Bible, if you grew up in church like I did, I tell people all the time, born on the front pew. If you have spent any time with the Bible, you may be familiar with something that's called the 23rd Psalm. It's a psalm, it's a poem that was written by David, and it's quoted, and there's a piece of the psalm towards the end that I think is important when we talk about something like self-love. And the poem goes a little bit like this: the Lord is my shepherd, I don't have any wants. He takes care of my wants. He leads me beside the still waters. He lays me in green pastures. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness so that his name can be praised. I may walk through deep and dark valleys. I may go through hard times, but God is always with me. His mighty hand, his rod, and his staff are there to comfort me. He anoints my head with oil. He makes a table before me right in the presence of my enemies. Here's the interesting verse I think is particularly important. He anoints my head with oil. My cup runs over. The anointing, the oil, the blessings of the Lord are meant to anoint us and fill us up to overflow. Now, what do we do with that overflow? We pour out onto others with that overflow. That as God directs love and affection and warmth to us to the point that we're overflowing. What's up, Leo? Good to see you, brother. Hope your training is going well, man. I was thinking about you the other day. Thanks for joining me, Leo. So as that love, as that affection is poured into us from God, we then pour it out onto others. That's the healthy flow. That is a healthy flow. That is a way to be able to sustain an outpouring of love. But when we pour out of not only our surplus, but when we start to pour out of our sustenance, and then we start to pour out of our reserves, we're left empty. And ultimately, the ones that we love, the ones that we want to heap that affection on, suffer because we don't have anything left to give them. We don't have anything left to share. There's a reason why, and you may have seen the memes and the pictures all over Facebook a couple months ago. A former Air Force pilot, incredibly brave, skilled woman, was able to successfully land a Southwest flight. I think there was like a crack in the window. There was a problem with the wing. Something crazy happened. And this woman was able to land this plane, land it, not in the airport. I think she landed like on a freeway or something. It's all over the internet. You guys can read the story. But no injuries, no fatalities. I mean, the plane was barely damaged. Like, this woman, talk about a hero. This woman was amazing. But there are a bunch of pictures flying around. Someone was taking a selfie as the plane was landing, and the cabin became depressurized, and so the oxygen masks fall down. Now, for those of you that have ever flown, what do the flight attendants always tell you as part of the safety check? There may be a loss in cabin pressure. If that happens, oxygen mask will come down from the ceiling. You place the oxygen mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. If you are traveling with small children or next to someone who's in need of assistance, what are you supposed to do? Put your mask on first. Put your mask on first. You can't help the other person if your mask isn't on. If you're gasping for air, if you're choking, if you can't hardly breathe, how are you going to help somebody else? You're ineffective. In emergency response, one of the most important things that they teach emergency responders is to take care before you enter a situation so that you don't leave another body for your brothers and sisters to have to come and deal with because you're rushing headlong into a dangerous situation. Now, emergency responders, do they run into danger? Absolutely. But they're going to take care. They're going to make sure that they have a measure of security when they enter that emergency situation so that they're not leaving another body for somebody else to deal with. And so many of us call ourselves sacrificing and loving and being Christ-like that we have depleted our own reserves. We've exhausted ourselves. We have nothing left to love on anybody else with. And so the people that you've been so focused on, what's up, Keish? I see you, girl. Thanks for joining us. The people that you want to love on, the people that you want to be excited about, the people that you do all this sacrificing for, end up suffering because you got nothing left. And so you're stressed and you're depleted and you're wiped out, and they're looking at you for support, and you got nothing to give them. And then you end up taking it out on them because you resent the fact that you have poured all of you out onto them. They haven't given you back what you need, and now it's their fault, when the reality is you were giving more of yourself than you were ever called to. And I think that's something that's so important, guys. It's so critical that we get this. You were not called to love someone to your own detriment. There was one person that was called to love so hard that it would cost him his life, that it would cost him his dignity, that it would cost him his everything. There was one person that was called to do that, and it ain't you. He did that already. Jesus paid that price. He made that sacrifice. That's been taken care of. You are not required to love anyone to the extent that it depletes you of anything. You can't be so heavenly minded that you know earthly good. I've used that expression before. I'm sure you've heard it before. But this self-love thing is a real thing, y'all. It's not a fad. It's not a guru motivational. This is real. Are we called to sacrifice? Absolutely, we're called to sacrifice. Does love hurt? Heck yeah, it hurts. Well, I mean, we talked about forgiveness last week, right? Forgiveness is one of the most difficult things that we're asked to do. We're asked to forgive those that have betrayed us, those that have hurt us, those that have wronged us. We are asked, we are commanded to forgive them. So this is not me trying to at all alleviate the burden of what it means to love. What this is me doing is equipping you to love more effectively. If you make sure that you are getting love, that you, at the very least, that you are loving on you, that you are embracing you, that you are showing you affection and attention, if you're doing that, then you gotta know you will always have enough for somebody else. Because even if you empty your tank loving on somebody else, you can fill your tank back up. Because God is going to always make sure he's pouring. Here's the issue. God is steady pouring, and we're not receiving. Because then we become just like a sieve, right? So God's love is eternal. God's love is infinite. God's love, God's affection is always there. God is always pouring out. The problem is, instead of us, I don't know if you can see it, right? Instead of us cupping and making sure that we're catching some of that love, a lot of times we're just letting it go right through us into others. So we aren't getting the full benefit of God's love. We're too busy trying to redirect it and send it out and be so deep and so holy and so, you know, self-sacrificing. You gotta love on you. And catch this, watch this. When you don't allow God to fill you up, when you let that love and affection that God is trying to pour out to you immediately go to somebody else, you are telling God that you don't value his love. You don't. You're saying that his love is only as good as it can serve others. That you are, in effect, you don't need it. What you need is for it to just go to others. So shouldn't God then just bypass you and just start pouring out on them? No, he wants to love on you. He wants to love on you. Our God, our creator, wants to love on you. And get out of that, you know, and get out of that place where, you know, you have to do it all. You don't have to do it all. You have to do what you are called to do, but you don't got to do it all. What you need to do is make sure that your love cup has got something in it at all times. That's what you got to do. You got to make sure that your love cup has got something in it. If you do that, then you do God a great honor. You do God a great service, because you are now receiving his love and sharing it, pouring out, being a blessing to others. And that's what I want us to think about this week. That's what I want us to kind of meditate and think about and practice for the next couple weeks. Practice filling you up. Practice filling you up. Not to the degree that you're ignoring, that you're shutting out. I got kids. I can't ignore my kids. I can't, you know, y'all need to go somewhere and be quiet. I'm filling up my cup. That's not what I'm saying, right? There's a balance. We can be adults. We can work through this. We can figure out a way how this practically can work. We can take something that's a little bit more abstract, a little metaphoric, like love yourself, and we can be practical about it while also honoring and remembering the obligations and the desires of our heart. It's my desire to love my family. It's my desire to love on my wife, to be affectionate with my children. It is my desire to show love and affection to my colleagues and to people that I work with and the people that I serve in my community. It is my desire, but it is not my desire to do that to the extent that I am depleted and always depleted, and then it becomes a detriment. It becomes a cost. That's not my desire to do that. So, you know, I do things like, you know, I try to make sure that I exercise somewhat consistently. Now, I don't love exercising. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I'm not a gym rat. I'm you know, I've said to other people before, I don't get that runner's high that people talk about. When I run, I'm tired. I'm tired before I run. I'm tired while I'm running. I'm tired after I run. You hear me? You know, in the gym, I'm thinking about, okay, how much more do I have to do before I can leave the gym? So I'm not, you know, one of these fitness nuts. I like being healthy. I like the way I feel when I'm healthy, for sure. But it's one of the ways that I keep my energy level up. It's one of the ways that I show myself love. It is a way to do it. I also let myself play video games from time to time. My wife is somewhere saying, "Oh yeah, it's more than time to time." He lets him play video games plenty. She probably put in a comment, "Don't let him lie to you." No, I'm being playful with my boo. She has my best interest at mind all the time. This message is very much for the Rachels of the world. There are a lot of wives, a lot of mothers out there that were just kind of brought up in this situation where you take care of everyone else. Here's the issue with that. there's always an else. There's always another person to take care of. There always is. You take care of your kids. You take care of your spouse. You take care of your spouse's coworkers. You take care of your coworkers. You take care of your kids' friends. You take care of your own friends and aunties and uncles. And there's always somebody else to take care of. Take care of you. Rachel, my love, take care of you. Take some time to love you. And the other women and men out there that suffer from that same affliction of sacrificing to your own detriment. Take care of you. You have my permission. If that matters to you at all or not, you have my permission to love on yourself. You have my permission to love yourself, to put your mask on first. There's no substitute for self-care, folks. Nobody else is going to do it. Even if you're in a great loving relationship. And I believe that I fill my wife's cup back up. I do. I believe that I do. I cannot do it all the time. And there may be times where she needs it and I'm not accessible. She has to be able to replace her love based on the connection that she has with the Lord. And that's what this is about. This is about putting you in a place where you are reconnecting with the Lord and getting access to that love so that you are always being filled up. And as you are being filled up in your overflow, as your cup runs over, you can pour out onto others. Love yourself. All right. Love yourself. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for sharing. My friend Keish just kind of chimed in, said self-love took her years to realize. And you know, and what do we do about that? And yes, you know, I mean, Keish, the reality is that it's a struggle for some people. There are some people that will listen to this and say, Charles, that sounds all well and good, but the reality is I don't have time. I don't have I can't afford to go to the gym. I don't have time to go running. I don't exercise. This, that, and the other thing. And all I'm going to say to you is you got to do it. You got to do it because the people that you love the most are going to be the ones that suffer because it's not sustainable. If you've been doing it for 50 years, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because you have exhausted yourself. And you going to pay now or you going to pay later. But the bill always comes due. My buddy Mickey and I were talking about the other day. The bill always comes due. So you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. Pay the bill now. Pay yourself now. Love you now so that you can enjoy your family. So it's not a burden. I mean, here's the other thing, y'all, is that loving your family, loving your kids, loving your people is not supposed to be a burden. It becomes a burden when we're exhausted and we have nothing else to give and they still need. Now it's a burden. Now you're looking at them jokers like, yo, can't y'all do something for yourselves? Right? I mean, why ain't you got a job yet? Dad, I'm 4. Well, go, figure something out. But I mean, that's, I'm playing with y'all, but that's the reality is that when you give of yourself so much all the time, the people that end up suffering are the people that are closest to you because you will reach a point where it's just a burden. There's no joy in it. So then it's not love. Then you're just serving. You're a servant. You're a slave. Then you become a slave to the people that you're supposed to love because you're not loving on them. You're just serving them out of obligation. And that's it. I mean, that's how we get closer to God. That's why we get closer to God is so that we can love and bless others in our overflow. I see Christina Bartuca jumped on. Chrissy been forever. So good to see you, girl. Thanks for peeking in and seeing how we're doing. So that's it, guys. Thank you, Keish, for the comments. I check the comments. I read through the comments. So prayer requests. Still waiting for those stories about love in action, guys. I'll make sure that I put a post up during the week to remind you, but still looking for those stories of examples of love in action, how you showed love in action, or how somebody else showed love in action to you, or you heard about something, you saw something on the news, something on the internet. Share that with me so we can put that out to the community and help this love revolution go forward, help this love revolution spread. Thank you all that join me live. Thank you all that look at the broadcast later on, that like, that comment, that share. Please continue to share it. Help us get this word out. Help this revolution take flight. I got some confirmation from a friend of mine, Bruce Dixon. I shared his blog. Bruce is a former Hartford financial executive. He's a former CEO. He was a CEO of CPEP, which is an engineering organization here in Connecticut. It was nationally recognized, and Bruce just got to a place where he wasn't satisfied. He wasn't fulfilled, and he needed to love on him. Bruce needed to love on him. He needed to get to a place where God was filling him up again. And so, Bruce just started traveling the world and meeting all kinds of people and having all kinds of experiences and sharing love. And so Bruce and I had an opportunity to connect briefly over Messenger. He was in Vietnam. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning over there. It was like 8 o'clock at night over here. It was amazing. But we just had this beautiful conversation. And Bruce is on board, guys. I mean, Bruce is like, that's it. It connected with him, and he was on page with us, and he gets it. And so, check out his Facebook page, follow his blog, read his blog. You can get to his blog from his Facebook page. His name is Bruce Dixon. Again, I'll make sure that I share his stuff as well. But he's a part of this revolution, and he said something powerful to me. He said, especially for those of us that are espousing the teaching, the doctrine of Christ, that the Bible tells us that God is love, and if we're supposed to be like God, we don't just want to show love, we want to become love. That feels good to me. I want to become love. That's what I want. I want us to become love. So it's just in us, it's on us, it's around us, it's through us, it's our everyday. It's our everyday. And I believe that we can get there. I believe that we can get there. So again, appreciate you. How do we become love? Actually, we become love by making it a part of everything that we do. It becomes the foundation for the language that we use. It becomes the motivation. It becomes the inspiration behind every decision that we make, that we don't make decisions out of ambition, that we don't make decisions out of trying to get ahead, that we don't make decisions out of trying to gain something materially, but we make decisions based on and from a place of love, from a place of clean affection. I believe that it is, the source is supernatural, and it works through the natural. So the highest, purest, the best form of love that there is comes from God, comes from our Creator, and it is funneled through us, and it is expressed between humans. That we take supernatural love, and it is expressed naturally. It is expressed among humanity, and it's going to look a little different from person to person, from culture to culture. But it's pure, and it's serving, and it's sacrifice, and it's healthy, and it doesn't pull you it doesn't pull you down. It doesn't exhaust you. It doesn't drain you to the point that you are not refilled. It is a good exhaustion. It's the kind of exhaustion, I guess I'm just in this fitness place, but it's the kind of exhaustion that you get from a really good workout. Where your heart rate is up, there's a good sweat, but you feel good afterwards. You feel accomplished. That's what becoming love is your interactions may exhaust you. It may, it is tiring to care for someone that is in need. It is tiring to care for someone that's hurting, for someone that is having a hard time, that's going through difficulty. That is exhausting. That is tiring. But when it comes from a place of pure love, it's a good exhaustion. And you are replenished afterwards, because as you pour out, you're continuing to get poured into by God. And it's a good thing. And I'm glad that you had a good workout at volleyball today. So, again, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for the questions and the comments and the feedback. And just keep them coming. Keep the dialogue coming. Continue to share this with others in your conversation. Talk about the things that we talked about in your workplace, and around your dinner table, at the gym, wherever you are. But let's let this revolution take off. Let this revolution fly. Join me, join others. Help us to share the joy by spreading the love. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you soon.